or watching Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian. Enjoy this. These guys are extremely informative. I love their dialogue. I love their interpretation of the songs, who and what we are, what we were going after. They're very accurate in their interpretations and descriptions, and I just think this is a great show. And these guys are doing a stand-up stellar job. So once again, enjoy Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Talking into Infinity, a Dream Theater-centric podcast. I am your host, John. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and the CMS Network Rumble page. You can find us at those three locations every other Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you are watching on YouTube, do not forget to click that like button, click that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so that you are notified every time we go live or put up new content. We are brought to you, well, we're not really brought to you by anybody. We're brought to you by the CMS Network. So let's just get to tonight's topic here. I wanted to get right into this because I'm very excited about a new series of shows that Brian and I are going to be doing, this being the first of them. Without further ado, here is Brian. How's it going, man? Good to see you.
It's going very good, and I noticed that we already have Kale wanting to know why we haven't started the show 2 minutes ago. Dude, there's being excited for the show, and then there's Kale. Like, I love it, man. I love it.
Well, you know, it's a 2-click process, and apparently I missed clicking the second time. I thought I clicked it, and I'm like, why isn't it live? Oh, shit, click the button. So apparently I can't handle 2 clicks. That's, you know.
So can you clear up something for me in terms of how we are streaming now? So are we still on YouTube and the Facebook page streaming?
Yes, we are.
But we're not streaming through like the CMS Network page or something. Is that?
Well, they don't have a YouTube page anymore because it got
okay.
permanently banned for content strikes.
Gotcha.
And most of the content strikes were all years and years and years ago.
All right.
So it's just YouTube being a bastard. So,
I see.
Kale McLeish, good to see you as always, man. He says, well, I suppose it was only a matter of time before we ended up here. Don't even fucking start that stuff already, damn it, Kale.
Wah.
Don't even do that. we are not going to do that.
Yeah, don't set off that bomb. Just light fuse and get away.
Oh, jeez. We're not even 3 minutes into the show. We're starting this crap.
So full disclaimer, I decided to go back and listen to this using like these Pro headphones through Spotify on my laptop. I'll tell you what, man, I don't know that I've had a better actual listening experience for albums lately than through the laptop on some really pro type headphones. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I definitely always listen to my stuff on headphones. When I'm taking notes anyways, like for the show, I always try and do it through headphones because especially because I use earbuds because I'm half deaf from playing in the band for so many years and not using earplugs. But, you know, you can hear all the little nuances so much better when you've got, you know, something actually on your ears. I really like listening in the car because I've got a Bose system in my Mazda, so it sounds incredible, and it's, you know, it's got the 3D sound and it's got a subwoofer and stuff, which is awesome. But if I'm really listening for detail and stuff, it's definitely, you know, to your point, got to be through the headphones. And I think this is a record that definitely requires that because the original recording was a little bit lacking. You know, even Terry Date himself would tell you that. The band would say that. So the remastered version is the one you want to listen to, and when you find that online, it's obviously more powerful and whatnot, but you can hear things a little better. I mean, would you agree with that?
I have not heard the remastered, but I was shocked at how good this 89, because this was not on Spotify. I don't think even soon as maybe a year ago. This was like the one I believe that was not on there for some reason.
Yeah, it's a rights thing with Mechanic Records.
Oh, okay, but it is on there now, which kind of floored me. But this is the 1989 version, and I was shocked at how on some of the songs I really loved the bass tone. There was kind of a warm, snarly thing going on to it. It's still the mix was still sort of 80s and kind of all over the place, but I could never hear the bass the way I heard it. And again, I think it helped kind of just going through through these phones and this thing on the laptop itself, like, I don't know, it was just a really great signal, and I love the way the bass sounded on it.
For sure. Chastity Crawley checking in. Good to see you again, as always. She says, listen to the album twice today. I have my list ready, ranked by my opinion, then a second list of what I think could be a nice concert order. Okay. We did ours, full disclosure, we did ours worst to first. So ours is definitely going to be, I don't know. I think the top of our lists might be a little obvious, but Robert Husted, great to see you, man. And I promise as soon as we get those astonishing deep dive episodes scheduled, we'll let you know, because Robert Husted will be our guest host for those. So Robert Husted says, hey guys, I've got a signed cassette tape of this album. A lot of bangers on this album. All right, how the hell did you get a signed copy, and which members of the band signed it? If you tell me it actually has Charlie Dominici's autograph, I'm going to be really jealous of that.
Oh, that'd be killer, man.
Oh, Sean Faustus checking in. Good to see you, Sean, man. He says, oh, man, that's crazy. Just listened to this at work earlier. Abraham Rangel, nice to see you. Rangel, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I apologize. He has his top three as Afterlife, then Yitzhak Jam, then Light Fuse, and Getaway. All right, not a bad choice, not a bad choice. As long as we've got Chastity and Sean on here, sometime in October, Brian, I know you're going to take this episode off, but we are going to do Octavarium in the Octagon. And let me pull up, this is like riveting for radio, but let me pull up my phone here, and I can tell you exactly when the October episodes will be. They would be October 5th and October 19th. So Chastity and Sean, if you guys have a preference of the 5th or the 19th, just shoot us an email, talkingintoinfinity@gmail.com. You guys have contacted us before. And we can set it up around your schedule, and that way Brian knows what Thursday he's taking off, because he wants nothing to do with that, even though it's a great idea. So that's upcoming in October. But so yeah, back to the, my original comment when I was starting out here, Brian. We came up with this new idea that, we've done a deep dive into all the records except for The Astonishing. So for those of you guys who have not seen, we did, way back at the beginning of the show, did a deep dive into When Dream and Day Unite. If you guys would like to go back in our YouTube archives or the audio archives and check out that episode, there is a full deep dive we did into this record. But one thing I realized that we have not done is we've never gone through the records and gone song by song and kind of go, how would we rank these songs per record? And so this is going to be the first one that we're going to do. And I have a question from you. From you, asshole. I have a question for you. I'm a bit too busy reading comments over here. So should we go in order of the album releases, or should we do it randomly?
I think we start with this one and let's kind of jump around,
Okay.
Don't
jump
you
up,
think?
jump up, and get down. Yeah.
Let's do some
I
House
think
of
so.
Painage.
We could do that.
Yeah.
We'll do like a random number generator, and then we'll figure out what the next one will be. I kind of like that. So
Yeah.
All right, Cale McLeish wants in on Octavarium in the Octagon. Obviously, Cale, you're a part of it. He says, I would go the 19th. Sean says he can do either. So Chastity, Chastity says either. So it looks like October 19th is going to be Octavarium in the Octagon. I'm going to be the moderator, and we're going to have some viewers, listeners come on and debate whether or not the song Octavarium is good or not. So that's, that's not too shabby. Oh, Cale has a good idea here, and then we'll get to the topic at hand here. He says, do the ranking shows in the order that you did the deep dives. That's not too bad. We could do that.
Well, I don't even know how we did that order. Was that like a random draw too?
Yeah, it was kind of like, which one do we do? So
yeah, I think that would require us going back to. Well, obviously, I think the very last one we did was View from Top of the World, but
yeah. I don't know, Cale. I think I'm just going to do a random number generator like I did with the most of the deep dives. I think I'm just going to bring it up at random. I can do that at the end of the show, and then So all right. So Octavarium in the Octagon, October 19th. We're going to do these album song rankings at random. But tonight, Brian, we are doing our first one, and it is what I feel, as I said many times on the show, a very underrated record, and a record that strangely a lot of the Dream Theater fan base doesn't know exists. That being their 1989 Mechanic Records debut, When Dream and Day Unite. I know that when we did our deep dive, you had initially said when the idea came up, I'm not a fan of the record. I'm not a fan of the record. But then upon listening to it, when we had to dig into it, you were like, it's actually better than, I remember. So now that you've gone back to it again, has your opinion changed, or, are you back to not liking it, or do you still like it, or where do you stand?
I like it as a collection of songs. I don't like it so much as a complete, 1 to 8 album.
Okay.
So I think that's why this exercise is interesting, because it kind of sort of proves my thoughts and theory on it. And it's like, there's 8 songs on here, and it does feel, I don't want to use the term disjointed because that sounds negative, but
okay.
It just sounds like a band trying to find themselves. But I will say it was kind of refreshing, because I think on the last 2 albums they've kind of settled into a little bit of a formula. We're hearing some of the things, and it's mostly a great formula, don't get me wrong, but it was cool to go back and see, oh man, this is when they were still pretty experimental and trying to find their sound, and there's some stuff in there that you've never really heard since, and I think it's better than I probably gave it credit for originally.
Okay. Yeah, to me this was an interesting way to revisit the album. Because, for the deep dives, you're just digging into it and taking notes, and, I like this bass part, I like this little part here and there. But going back and listening to it this way, it's one thing that unless you sit down and do it, which I know a lot of people don't do, when you have to rank things, it's a very difficult exercise, because you start realizing that the middle of your list is really difficult to get the order of. The top is easy, the bottom is easy, and then the middle, you're like, well, shit. So, you said yours changed like 5 or 6 times. I know mine changed several times, because I would listen to it. Okay, I like this one a little better. Okay, I like this one a little better. Oh, wait, no. And when I'd re-listen to it, like, no, it keeps changing. So it's a difficult exercise. Mine changed, I think, about 3 times, and it was only, I flip-flopped on 3 songs. The rest of it, the other 5 pretty much stayed exactly where they were at. So, hopefully I got it right. I listened again on the way home in the order that I ranked them, and I was like, yeah, I can live with that. So I think I'm ready to go. So, again, we are doing this worst to first, and I will let you go first. What is, of the 8 songs on Dream Theater's 1989 debut, When Dream and Day Unite, which would you say is the worst of the 8 songs? And by the way, when we say worst, Dream Theater's like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's great. So we're not saying these songs suck by any means. It's just, okay, if I had to listen to, if there was one song I would listen to last among the whole pile. So that's how we're doing this list. No one assume that we're saying that any of these songs are trash. So,
well, I will say this is for the idiots that want to put pineapple on a pizza then, for this one.
I'm 100% with you on pineapple on a pizza. That's nasty.
It's so hilarious, because Jill's 9-year-old nephew was over the other day, and he's like, what's really good on a pizza? Pineapple and bacon. And he wanted to just totally, and I think she totally shot him down. He's like, oh, well, I guess it's not that good. It's like, let the kid have his glory, He thinks it's awesome.
You should have corrected and be like, yes, it is, as long as pineapple's on one half, bacon's on the other, and you can just throw out the half with the goddamn pineapple on it.
Yeah, exactly. But, yeah, if you've got $100 bill burning, a hole in your pocket to bet on this, I'm sure you already put it on light fuse and get away from me.
I did.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I did.
Yeah, I've never understood this song. It's just a mishmash and a hodgepodge. I don't know if you can be both a mishmash and a hodgepodge, but
right.
It's Kevin Moore being weird, and I don't know. It would take a hell of a lot of convincing to tell me that this is not, if not the worst song, if not the last song, the least good song on the album. It's nice. In the bottom 3. I don't know how you could possibly, what your ears would be hearing to say anything otherwise. So, yeah, there's not really a whole lot I can say. What's interesting is there's a couple on here, when you really listen, you're like, God, they really made Charlie just sing a whole bunch of words like really fast, and a lot of melodies, and just kind of weaving in and bobbing in and out, and there's not he's trying to find and get a melody in there, but man, it's really difficult on some of this stuff. Like, I really got to give him props for the performance he did turn in, because man, I mean, this is not easy. So, yeah, it's Light Fuse and Getaway. It's not even close for me.
Okay, yeah, I think, and this happens on a couple of the songs on this record. I think you can tell that there was a bunch of musicians, and then they're like, oh shit, we got to write for a singer. You know, I think in spots they forgot that there's got to be room for the singer to breathe, and you know, and the lyrics have to kind of fit. There's a couple like crammed in lines rhythmically here and there on this record, and I think, you know, to your point, I think this is one of them where, you know, it is a little wonky. I'll give you that. So I again, like you said, I knew this was going to be your number 8. So,
yeah.
So that's we had to guess each other's going forward. We could guess each other's lists, and you know, at least our tops and bottoms.
There's a good comment from Kale there. Says Kevin really had a lot to say. Apparently, he just wanted to do it all in one sentence. Yeah, that's. I mean, that sums it up perfectly.
Yeah, he's right. That is in the commentary. In fact, if you guys haven't seen that, by the way, that if you don't have a copy of it, or you know, if there's a way to find it, I know I have it. I might have loaned it to you, Brian. It might be in your possession right now. But when Dream and Day reunite, the Yitzhak Jam release, it does have a commentary track, which is fabulous. And yeah, they had some great stuff, and that's the one. You know, Kevin had a lot to say. Apparently, he wanted to do it in one sentence. So, all right. So my number 8. I think this might surprise some Dream Theater fans, but my number 8 is The Killing Hand. And again, this is why I prefaced all of this by saying we're not saying these are bad songs by any means. We're not saying that these songs are crappy or anything. The reason that I have The Killing Hand at number 8, it kind of breaks my heart to do that, because it's almost like their first epic. It's, you know, it's got, you know, different movements and stuff. It's broken out into the Roman numeral thing. And Kale McLeish, canceled. Kale also says that the commentary for the When Dream and Day Reunite is on YouTube. But anyway, for me, The Killing Hand, like every time I think of this record or go back to this record, for whatever reason, outside of the acoustic intro, this is the song I remember the least. So for me, it's the least memorable. So for that reason, I have it as number 8. Again, I really like it. You know, I've when I was going through these songs to put my list together, I was like, man, I like this song. But then even going through and listening to it and having it fresh in my mind, I still didn't remember it. So I think there's some incredible musical moments on the song, and that's awesome. There's just not enough here that's memorable to me to place it higher on the list. So my number 8 is The Killing Hand. So
yeah, we talked before, obviously, about this song and this album. So
yeah,
it's going to be hard to kind of try to not repeat myself, but I'll try to sort of hit some of the points, you know, without maybe saying the exact same thing. I didn't listen to the old episode. I was going to, but I'm like,
I was thinking the same thing and totally forgot.
Yeah, I mean, you know, our thoughts aren't going to change a whole lot on what we feel about it, but you know, this is their attempt at Queensryche, and I did notice something weird on this. Like, there's a part in the beginning where you're getting a Mindcrime feel, but by the end we went backwards. We went to the warning.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
yep.
Did you notice that? Like, it's very strange. Like, oh, you know, you feel like it's kind of going to have this newer sort of modern, you know, late 80s, you know, metal kind of a regal kind of sound, and then it ends up more in this sort of galloping power metal, you know, the Warning era, you know, which to me it's okay, but yeah, I mean, I can totally see why it's going to be in the bottom. It's hard to argue that.
Very cool. Mike Lamagna, by the way, good to see you, man. He also says, Light Fuse for sure. So he's on board with you, Brian. So there you go. You got a fan there. Robert Husted says, Killing Hand is definitely a meh song. Not terrible, but not great either. Only thing I can recall is the last note that does not sound good. Chastity Crawley's number 8 is Only a Matter of Time. I listened to it 2 times today, and it just feels meh, not for me. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. All right. I can't say I agree there, Chastity, but we all have our opinions. All right. So what do you have at number 7? You know what I have at number 7 is you unmuting your mic.
You know what? I'm just gonna go.
How many episodes have we done? And what a rookie mistake.
You know what? I think it's a lot more interesting when I have it muted, so I'm just gonna talk.
Oh my gosh! Look at this guy.
I got my dog is barking in the background, so I'm trying to mute him. Anyway, so I wonder, you probably would guess this one too. This is the one who helps to set the sun.
Okay.
Yeah, that I hate like that accent thing they do. It just I don't know. There's nothing musical about it. The coolest part to me is kind of the spooky little keyboard. It's a keyboard with a guitar. I can't tell if it's both playing it or if it's just Kevin Moore playing it. I do like that little motif he does, but I don't know, just those big accents, and there's too many of them, and it just it's not very musical to me. I don't know. It's a dynamic kind of thing they're doing, but it's nothing. It's not melodic enough. So that this one's still kind of rough for me. I do like the beginning though with the keyboard thing.
Okay. I can't really crucify you for that. I think for this one for me, there is some really interesting musical stuff. I agree with you. The intro's pretty cool. It's very like ethereal, and you've got the whole like rainstorm thing to intro and outro and everything. But the accents for me are kind of what keep it a little interesting. It's memorable to me. Whereas my number 8, Killing Hand, like I can tell you about the acoustic intro and that's it. But at least the ones who helped to set the sun, there's some cool stuff in there that is memorable to me. But I couldn't fault you for putting it at number 7. What I think can be faulted is my number 7, which I'm just getting ready for the shitstorm in the comment section. So I will take this beating. You guys just get ready. My number 7, it's a Dream Theater classic, the It's a Jam.
Whoa!
Yeah,
I would have lost $50 easy on that one.
Yeah, and honestly, like it's a great instrumental. I mean, it's the first in a long line of excellent instrumentals that they have. Chastity Crowley, ouch! Yeah, I know that I know it's not popular, but honestly, for me, I think it's because it is an instrumental, and it's a great instrumental, but they have other better instrumentals. So, Robert Houston, what? How could you, John? I knew it. Kale, Brian, need a new co-host? I knew as soon as I ranked this, I was like, I'm gonna catch the most amount of shit for putting the It's a Jam at number 7. Again, guys, I love the It's a Jam. I love this whole record. I think it's so criminally underrated. Just for me, I think because it's an instrumental, it's for me, I like the melodies and certain aspects of the other songs better. So to me, I will say this: the It's a Jam live is absolutely killer. So that I will completely give it, because obviously it's got the drum part, so Mike Portnoy can do his drum solo in the middle and stuff like that, and they've extended it out in different variations over the years, and it's awesome. But for me, my number 7, man, it's the It's a Jam. I hate to say it.
I can't necessarily argue with you. I'm just shocked because I would not have. I think there's a. So I was trying to go back without like cheating too much and looking like, okay, so just think of like if you started to become like a kind of a hard rock fan, late 70s, early 80s. I'm a little bit older than you, so I have a couple years on you, but you're still a huge Van Halen honk, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
you've got like Frankenstein, Edgar Winter Group. You've got Eruption, Jessica by Allman Brothers, Freeway Jam by Jeff. There's just not a lot. YYZ is really the only thing this kind of generation can relate to this song. So I think when they heard it, it was just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
And I think there's just like this instant thing, like, man, they brought back YYZ, they brought back YYZ, or I haven't heard anything like YYZ,
Right.
Since since 1981 or whatever, when I think it's when Moving Pictures came out. So I think there's a nostalgia thing to this song. I love like the just the big cool Egyptian riffing. It's like you're going to battle the pharaohs and the gods, out in the desert.
Right.
You know what I mean? And everyone's pumping their fists when they decide to bust out this song. If you really break it down and listen to it, is there really all that much amazing stuff going on? I don't necessarily think so. So I can see why it would be lower. I'm just shocked that you had it there.
Yeah. Well, again, it's only because it's an instrumental. Otherwise, it's a great song. I mean, I love it. And again, I think this is one of those songs that, when you see it live, then you really, really become a fan. On the record, it's great, but it just, there's something more to it in the live environment. So, Clint Pagel, good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. He says, love the first record, bought it shortly after release. They never quite were able to capture that Rush meets Metallica vibe again after that. David Prater totally fucked them over on the next one. Yeah, that's an interview, Brian, like kind of off topic here. That's an interview I would really like to get, because we talked to Rich Wilson a couple times, and he said he could probably get David Prater on the show. And if that guy would talk about that experience of producing Images and Words, like to get his take on it, considering we've gotten his comments in the Lifting Shadows book, but mostly Dream Theater's comments, that would be fascinating. I need to follow up on that, because that would be really cool. Chastity Crawley asks me, why do you hate instrumentals? I don't hate instrumentals, Chastity. I don't at all. I love a lot of it. This one's just for me. I like the other 6 songs ahead of it just a little better. There's a little bit more to them for me. And Brian actually made a very good point. There's, as a Dream Theater instrumental, it's not as involved as some of the other ones. So it's definitely, you can hear what is to come. It's a precursor. It's a great precursor to future instrumentals. But, if you put it up against all the other stuff that they've done instrumentally, Cale mentions it, Erotomania, Dance of Eternity, Enigma Machine, stuff like that. I just think that this one would be down on the list. So, and now Chastity is throwing her, carrying water for Stream of Consciousness again. So, all right, I see you there. All right, so number 6, Brian, what do you have at number 6?
I got Killing Hand there.
Okay.
And I think it settles in nicely there based on what I have. It's, out of the 3 I had towards the bottom, it's the one I probably, if they were to play that live, I think it would be really, really cool. The other 2, I really wouldn't have that much of a desire to see them, to see those. But I think Killing Hand would be neat.
Okay. Yeah, I don't dislike the song. I just think that there's not enough that is memorable for me. It sounds so pompous to phrase it this way, but it hints at what will come after it. Like, yeah.
Well, we said that about a lot of stuff on here, but it's true. It's true. I mean, it's like you said, you're going to have to rank. Everything has to get ranked somewhere. So this is going to be, especially when we only have 8 songs. It's like, people are going to be like, oh my god, like.
Yep. Well, and again, it's not a bad song. Like if someone said you're only allowed to listen to one song off of When Dream and Day Unite for the rest of your life, and it's The Killing Hand, I'd be like, okay, fine with me. I mean, I have no problems with it.
Right.
It's just, for me, it's the least memorable. So my number 6, got it, a little ahead of you. I have The Ones Who Helped to Set the Sun. And like I said, when we talked about this when you had it at number 7, I like the I really like the wonkiness of it. Like that intro's cool, and I know, like I said, I like the accents of it. The weird like cymbal interplay and stuff like that. I think, and here's a question for you, because part of me is a little influenced on this record in particular by thinking about how old they were when they wrote this, and then thinking about the shit that I was writing when I was that age. So for me, like, I'm very proud of my first record. It was released in 97. Most of it was written in 95, early 96, right? And it's not Dream Theater. Like,
no?
And I was about the same age they were when they wrote When Dream and Day Unite. Yeah, go figure, right? So, it's... I think that part of it for me is like I feel bad really crucifying anything, and not that there's anything to crucify in this record, but I have a really hard time kind of really nitpicking this one because I'm going, dude, what 21-year-old is writing shit of this caliber ever? I mean, does that ever cross your mind? Because I know, like, I mean, you've written songs and you've been playing your whole life, and I mean, you're a couple years older than me, but I mean, you were playing since your teens and early 20s and stuff.
Yeah, but we also didn't like, go to Berkeley and like literally, pack our gear onto a push cart and then set it all up and practice and rehearse every day for 3 years or whatever. And,
well,
that helps, I mean,
well, okay, you make a good point. However, I would counter that by saying they already had to be pretty friggin' kick ass just to get into that school.
Yeah, of course.
So I still think, and this is just a dumb thing to say, but you know where I'm going with this. Like, even without that training, they still wrote shit like light years beyond what you and I were writing when we were 20, 21. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, all right. I mean, so I don't know. It's just that always comes to mind when I think of this record. Like, if I ever want to nitpick anything, and there's really, again, nothing to nitpick, but it's just something I always think about. So, all right. So that's my number 6. All right. Ooh, Joseph Wren, Discuss Metal Joe. Good to see you, man. He says, Yitzhak Jam is track 1 of my playlist for those that have never heard progressive metal before. Nice. Well, that's my number 7 of 8, so we might, man, we got some battles going on in the chat tonight. I like it. This is good. This is exactly why we do the show. Fan interaction, man. All right, so what do you have at number 5?
I have Yitzhak Jam. And I originally had it ranked higher, like better on the list, and I ended up moving it back some.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it sits comfortably in the middle there. Just the 3 that I have below it, there's nothing vocally, and you said this on a couple where, it's not that memorable necessarily, maybe the melody and whatnot. And you don't come away singing any of those 3 that I had on there at least. Like later, I'm really, I'm not singing along to Light Fuse and Get Away, or maybe Killing Hen, a little bit of that melody, but the other, the ones who helped with the Sun or whatever. I can't think of the damn name of the title.
the guys who helped the Sun.
Yeah, those sun helping guys. The ones who helped to set the Sun. Yeah, just like you're not sitting around, going, hey, let me just bust out the melody on this. So I think Yitzhak Jam fits perfectly right in there for me, so that's wherever I have it.
Okay. Yeah, you know me. I've got it at number 7 strictly because it's instrumental. Don't crucify me, Chastity. Johan Alexanderson, good to see you again, man. He says, I feel like they were at Berkeley for like 5 minutes before they dropped out to start the band. When you read everything about them, it does kind of feel that way, doesn't it? It's like you never hear about them going to class or they met in the lunchroom or whatever, I think is the story. But all you ever hear is the stories of, we hauled our gear downstairs and set it up and then practiced for, at the late hours and then went back up and, people are playing jazz in the next room and here we are doing Iron Maiden and Rush shit. So, yeah, I'm with you, Johan. It definitely kind of feels that way. My number 5, and this pains me to put this song here. This is where my list got really difficult. I have Only a Matter of Time at number 5. And it's this is where I had to go back and forth a bunch because I really, really like that song. My one note for the song says, I love this song, but since this is a ranking, yeah, I mean, I really dig it. It's just I like 4 other songs better. When I rank these things, I go back and I make a playlist and I listen to it in order. I'm like, yeah, okay. And I had to flip flop this a couple different times. I had it as low as 6. I had it as high as 2. And then as I really kind of settled into my list, I absolutely, man, I had to put it at number 5. So, I don't know. Sorry, guys. Again, I thought my list was going to be unpopular, and I've already gotten crapped on a few times, so not too shabby. So,
well, I'll go ahead and talk about the song now.
Okay. Well, I'm going to put you in solo because I just heard a big thump upstairs. I'm going to make sure my house isn't breaking.
Okay.
So feel free to pontificate here.
All right. I also want to say I do like Discuss Metal Joe's. You know, Yeatsy Jam is Majesty backwards, right? That's the band's original name. Yeah, you're wrong. Yeatsy Jam backwards is a thrash band falling apart into a weird progressive outro. I can see some of that, Discuss Metal Joe. I'm not totally against that. Kale, we're still talking about Yeatsy Jam, so I'll do this real quick. This and number 4 are interchangeable, but this really is awesome. The post-solo riff is very much the precursor to my favorite riff from Metropolis. Yes, Kale, there are definitely shades of Metropolis on multiple songs on this album. I'm going to give my thoughts on Only a Matter of Time. I love it because we start out, we got a great keyboard solo. There's a lot of images and words feel to this one, and I especially love the last probably 2 minutes of this song, where we got a lot of major key solos from JP and from Kevin Moore going on. And it's just sort of that building, majestic, kind of cinematic type thing that we talk about all the time on here. And they're really building that major thing and just making you feel good inside, like you can go climb a mountain or something. And it's really sort of giving that Metropolis feel, to it. It's really hinting towards the brighter sides of Images and Words, because I think this album is kind of dark, and there's only a few real sort of happy major moments on this release, and certainly the last 2 to 3 minutes of Only a Matter of Time are the bright happy parts, and I think we need that too, because if an album gets too dark and too bogged down, it could get to be a bummer, and it's probably why Dream Theater is one of my favorite bands, because they are able to sort of balance that dark and that light. But yeah, Only a Matter of Time, great song.
I am back. I apologize. You know what I should start doing is making a banner for the bottom of the screen, because unlike the other times I put you in solo, I did not have to take a piss. But I should actually have a banner that says John's taking a piss. I just thought of that. Anyway, it was the dog knocking over a bookshelf, so that's great. Anyway, so yeah, I know you're talking about the light moments and stuff like that, and yeah, the songs you mentioned, I would definitely agree with you on that. So very astute there. The one thing I will say that I personally think there's a little bit more of the up moments, I think, on this record. But then again, this, I've said many times on the show that I feel like the Kevin Moore records just have this different vibe to them. And there's not really anything that's really dark on the albums that, that he was on. I just don't hear stuff like, Jordan can write some pretty evil stuff, but Kevin Moore never really did. I mean, ethereal maybe, but I just, I think it was really, really kind of up. So, excuse me. Good Lord, that was good. Joseph Wren, JT not talking equals piss. Make it a rule. Anytime Brian goes into solo, it's just be an assumption I'm taking a piss. It just wasn't tonight, so sorry to burst your bubble there, Joe. All right, so moving on after that ridiculousness. Number 4, what do you have at number 4?
I have Fortune and Lies, and I'm kind of going to disagree with Discuss Metal Joe a little bit. I think this is kind of the calling card for prog, for how they sort of do prog in their own style. Okay. And I don't know if I brought this up the last time, but did you know there is a point in there towards the end? I think it's before you get to the sound bites and stuff that come in over the heavy riffing. You get the actual chord progression for the Vincent Price part of Thriller with the organ behind it.
Really?
Yeah, the darkness falls across the line. Yeah, you get that actual chord progression for I think it does it one time. It's totally hilarious. You're listening for it.
No shit.
So bonus points for that. I have no idea if anyone else has ever caught that, but
what?
Yeah, I mean this is the go-to song, right? If they're going to play a song off this album, it's either going to be this or Yeatsy Jam. So I guess it's because it's the first song on the actual album. But
how many of these songs have you actually heard live? Like when you've been at a show?
Probably just those two.
Okay. Yeah, I've only heard 4. Obviously, A Fortune in Lies, Afterlife, Only a Matter of Time, and Yitzhak Jam. I've heard those 4.
Did you and I hear Afterlife somewhere? I don't know. Did they throw it in on one of those the 20-year the images and words when they did the opening set? That didn't come out of there, did it?
Oh
no, they did. No, they threw in like To Live Forever or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was To Live Forever.
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
I think it was that one. Yeah.
However, I did hear Afterlife, which is my number 4 song, at Score. Where's Adam Rishog when we need him? And that's actually part of my notes for this song is, as I was flip-flopping songs back and forth on my list today, I was like, do I have Afterlife at number 4 because of a bias from hearing it at Score? It may be that, but I really like this song. I mean, it's probably outside of Status Seeker, I think it's the most straight ahead song on the album, at least for them. It follows a normal song pattern and stuff like that. It's got that really kick-ass unison, so like the keys and the guitar doing that unison thing that they would become synonymous for. And to me, this one just has a ton of melody in not only the chorus but the verse as well. So I mean, you could sing both of them, I think, and that's that to me is the hallmark of a great song, especially with a band like Dream Theater, where you're really focusing on all the instrumentation and the crazy music going on. But if you can sing along, obviously you're gonna have a chorus, but if you can sing along to the verse too, that's pretty impressive. So look at this. Kale says, "Are you going to be biased for Octavarium for that reason?" Meaning my Score bias. I'm a moderator on that one, Kale. I'm a moderator, and it's unfortunate that like Chastity is on one side. She's got an uphill battle. She doesn't have any teammates on that one, so that'll be difficult. Robert Husted says Afterlife at 4, bruh. Man, Robert does not like my ranking tonight. He's gonna be like, you know what? Piss off with showing up and doing the astonishing with you. You're a jerk.
Dude, you're showing your age. It's Afterlife at 4, bruh.
My bad. I pronounced it wrong. Chastity says, Afterlife is what I would have as a concert opener. Chastity, as someone who writes set lists, and by no means am I saying I know everything, I would say that does not... You want the show to open, not to use a cliche, but open with a bang. And that one just goes like it doesn't come in with like an explosion. You know what I mean? So
I like it as an encore, and then like you end with, I don't know, whatever your typical Pull Me Under or something.
Yeah, to your point, that's great. I like that too, because Chastity, if you think about it, Brian says as an encore, you could literally like have the stage go dark, like, hey, thanks, good night, we'll see you next time, and then you're like, woo, come on out, do another song, da-da-da-da-da. And then like with everything dark, all of a sudden you're like, and then you're wow, like the place goes nuts. They're playing something from the first record. So I'm gonna have to side with my co-host on that one, Chastity. No offense. I know you said we don't agree on much, but. So, all right, man. We are into our top 3. So, what do you have at number 3?
I have A Matter of Time, and this song's gotten moved all over the place.
Right.
I think there's an argument for me as much as the thing is, and I kept hammering this home. I absolutely love the last half of it. The first half is okay, it's decent, but I love the last half. So I on that basis I couldn't put it all the way up there, but yeah, it settles in at 3 for me.
Awesome. Yeah, that was a difficult one for me because it's I love the version on live at Budokan. That I've always really liked this song, but for some reason hearing it live on that record just really really grabbed me. That's why it was so difficult when I put it at number 5, because I'm like, God, I love this song. So like that, Only a Matter of Time in my top 4. It was such a ping pong, the 3, 4, 5. So I can't fault you for putting Only a Matter of Time at number 3. Great song. It's kind of like it kind of set the tone for how they would have album closers going forward, doesn't it? When you look back at it, because you've gone through these, and I was like, oh my God, like it's majestic and big, and it's got some cool like rhythmic things like, and it's very catchy and very, very good song, man. So I can't fault you for putting it at 3, even though I had it at 5. Our buddy JG3 is tuning in. He says, "Hey guys, I'm kind of half watching because I'm watching the Eagles preseason. Don't judge me." No judging. You're from out that way, so that's fine. As long as you're into cheesesteaks, not with that shitty cheese whiz on it, and it's provolone cheese, then we're good. You can follow the Eagles all you want. My uncle lives out in Philly, so he's a big Eagles fan as well. So
they just got Josh Dobbs.
No, they didn't. The Cardinals did.
Oh, Cardinals. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Come on, dude. If you're gonna bring up sports on the show, at least get it right.
Well, I knew it was one of those AFC East teams. Nice. If this was 1979, they would both be NFC East.
Exactly. Good. Wow. Okay, now you're showing your age.
I am.
There you go.
And the Washington Redskins and the New York
Washington.
Giants
Yep.
and the Dallas Cowboys are all in the same division.
Man, oh man, we are too old for this shit. JG3 says, "I'm a big fan of Only a Matter of Time. I wish they would re-record it or something. It's such a great song. Guess I just have to settle for the Budokan version." So Chastity with the football. She says, "It was one of those bird teams."
That's right.
And JG3, absolving himself, says, "Haha, I'm not a cheese whiz guy." Thank you. I know it's not the Philly way to not do the whiz, but I don't give a shit, man. That delicious steak, you have to have the provolone cheese, not the whiz. So, all right, so my number 3, man, we're getting derailed a lot tonight. It's almost like my nerd show. My number 3, this is going to surprise you because I haven't ranked it yet here, Brian. Light Fuse and Get Away is my number 3. Yeah. It's something about this song. It's weird. It falls right in line with all those times I've said on the show that the really wonky songs I enjoy, and Light Fuse and Get Away From Me is like wonky, and it's got some great straight ahead riffing and stuff. This to me is like, you can look at all the different little interesting parts. JG3, more like Light Fuse and Garbage Fire.
Yeah. Light fuse and stick dynamite straight up your, or the person standing next to you straight up there.
Stick it up, yo.
Yeah, right.
There we go. A Limp Bizkit reference on a Dream Theater show. Light Fuse and Garbage Fire. Nice. Yeah, it's just, I think when you look at all the different weird parts of this song, you hear all the different stuff that would come years later. And again, I hate using that, it's a precursor to this, that, and the other, but it really is. They've got some weird stuff, and the chorus to me is it's one of their most interesting choruses for me in the entire Dream Theater catalog. This is one of their most interesting choruses. It's that it's just a total like tempo change, and it's off this, and weird guitar riff, and it's cool, man. I love this song. The whole time I'm listening to this song, I'm going, what? Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Wait, what? What? Huh, what? Like it's interesting to my ear. So
it just to me feels like a bunch of kids now like, hey, I'm going to do this right here, and then now you go like this. It has that feel to me. It just, I don't know.
I can't blame it. No, and you know what, dude? I can't blame you for that. Like, because I understand why you would hear it that way. I to my ear, it's a little more cohesive than that. But I can understand why you would think otherwise. Yeah. If that makes sense. So
I guess I feel like if I tried to write a song like, sort of, it would end up sounding like that, and I'd listen back later and go, oh, geez. You know what I mean? I think that's why it annoys me. Like, well, hell, if that's what they're going to put on, I could probably do that.
Jesus, guys, we could have fixed that, don't you think?
Yeah, no.
I don't know, dude. It's that, again, I flip-flopped 3, 4, 5 a lot, and that one just kept popping out to me. It just kept it just kept sticking out and go, man, this is really kind of cool. And again, ranking is very difficult, but that one, when I would back it up with Afterlife and Only a Matter of Time, and that one just kept being the one that I came back to. So yeah, my number 3 is Light Fuse and Get Away. All right, we are now into our top 2. What do you have as your number 2?
These changed like 3 times also. I'm going to go with Afterlife.
Really?
Yeah. To me, Afterlife is kind of like early 90s Maiden that was still kind of tolerable before it really kind of went off the rails.
part of the Fear of the Dark record, in other words?
Yeah, like, I don't know. You could maybe get one song out of No Prayer and Fear of the Dark. Maybe you could get 2 songs that were kind of maybe decent. It's Maiden with some keyboards in it. And the other interesting thing is, for a song that has, like you mentioned, like a great, huge chorus, like, almost borderline radio ready chorus, you don't even hit that chorus until like 2 minutes and 20 seconds in almost, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, great tune. That I would for sure love to hear that played live, especially because I feel like lately we've heard kind of similar set list the last few shows we've been to, so it would be cool to hear something like that thrown in.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned like recent set lists and stuff. I was trying to listen today and think, like what they could do out of this record. What could they do that would actually like blend well with the stuff they're putting into the set? And I had a hard time coming up with anything really. And also I know James doesn't really have a personal connection to it. It's for obvious reasons. So I don't know. That was a difficult one. Robert Husted says his number 2 is Status Seeker. And JG3, he's bring your daughter to the slaughter, let her go. Yep.
That was one of the better tunes on there.
Tail Gunner. Well, I mean, to me, that's the only good song on that record.
Yeah,
but,
probably, yeah.
Tail Gunner. So I like Tail Gunner, but like, 'cause I'm a Tail Gunner. All right, but yeah, back to Robert Husted. He's got Status Seeker as his number 2, which I think is kind of a controversial pick. If it wasn't for the fact that my number 2 is Status Seeker, booyah. Yeah. Status Seeker for me is number 2 on this record. I think it's the most underrated song in the Dream Theater catalog. It gets absolutely no love from anyone, and I get it. It's not a typical Dream Theater song and whatnot, but it's got a phenomenal melody, and I'm not usually a lyric guy, but I love the lyrics to it. I think they flow nicely, especially, because earlier we were talking about, there's a couple times in this record where you're kind of cramming a lyric in. Something about this song just always, it always grabbed me. And I'm not one of those people who discovered the band on this record, so where it's like, oh yeah, it's the second Dream Theater song I ever heard. Like, I discovered him in, kind of discovered him in 92. I've told the story many times on the show, but really in 95. So I had heard a bunch of other stuff before I heard When Dream and Day Unite, and this song still just really stuck out to me. So I just, something about it is just, I love the melody of it. The whole feel of the song. This is one of those ones, like, how bands re-record albums and like, oh, let's do our old shit but with modern production. I would love to hear Status Seeker redone with like modern banging production. I really think that people would have a different view of the song if it was done in that fashion. I really, really do. I really, really do. So JG3, he says Status Seeker was apparently the song they sent James LaBrie that he liked to get him to come audition. I've seen that too, Jay. I've seen that too, and that doesn't surprise me because he was in James wasn't like prog guy. He was a big Rush fan and whatnot, but he was especially in the cover bands he was singing, and he was doing more straight ahead stuff. So this is the most straight ahead song that they had. So that would not surprise me. Chastity Crawley, number 1 for her is Status Seeker. It is very much a calling people on their crap / middle finger to the record company. Yeah, that's this is the song they had to tack on there. The record label's like, well, we need a single, so they made him write something catchy. So you're 100% dead accurate there. All right, Brian, we are down to number one. Go ahead and give us your number one, even though we all know what it is.
Well, pretty anticlimactic, right? I got Status Seeker also.
Okay, talk about this. Like, I would have never thought that Status Seeker. I know you like this song. You and I've even off the show we've talked about it a lot. Like, yeah, that's a great song and everything. Okay, like, I would still never have thought that this would be your number one. Why is this your number one?
And I was flipping back and forth between Afterlife and Matter of Time. These three are just I love all three of these songs. I don't know. I mean, this is one of like how many songs did we come up with where they actually utilize the major key? And this starts out major and happy and fun, but then it kind of turns into a little bit of a serious kind of an urgency to it. I love you get that one riff. You get a bit of that Greg Kihn breakup song riff, that the dear that riff is like right there. You're like, wait a minute, that sounds kind of like that one song. And I don't know. I mean, it's totally kind of radio friendly and radio ready, and it's not like anything else they really have ever done. And you like the wonky stuff that's sort of that way. I guess I like this. This to me, this is almost borderline as left field for the type of stuff that they do.
Excellent point.
But there's enough cool sort of borderline prog type elements in it. And it has a bit of the mid '80s sort of driving Rush, little bit dark urgency kind of things. That's something that struck me, is there really is a lot of Geddy Lee going on in his vocals. There's a lot of the, I don't know, there's some Grace Under Pressure type things going on, I think, with the way he sings a lot of this stuff, and that's not bad as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, dude, the very first time I heard this record, I actually remember exactly where I was for some weird reason, but I was with my buddy Andy Dixon, who, for those of you guys who've tuned in the show for, the 2.5 years we've been doing it or whatever, like he's the one that, got me into Dream Theater. And we're driving in that same old beat up shitty Corsica. And he's like, check this out. This is Dream Theater. And I was like, he's like, this is our first record. They had a different singer. And he started playing the record, and I went, that guy sounds exactly like Geddy Lee. He's like, that's what I thought. So yeah, I mean, to your point, it's very, he definitely has that Geddy kind of, delivery. To the rest of your points, it is more accessible and whatnot, and it is left field for Dream Theater. But there's still that musicality. Like one of the things that I love most about this song is the bass line. Like if you listen to the verse, it's a simple drum beat. It's some clean broken guitar, but the bass line is like a little bit like it adds that musicality underneath to where it's you hear what you're hearing at the top is something simple. Hard to get the sight of the Status Seeker. Like you're getting just this nice pretty melody with some straight ahead shit, but then when your ear is interested because the bass line is like moving, like
yeah,
I love that.
I forgot I did have that in my notes, because when I was talking earlier about the headphones, I specifically this song. It's what I call the snarly, snaky.
Yes, that's a great term. Yeah,
and you cannot. I don't think you can hear that at all unless you have some decent headphones that are maybe have a little bit of bass boost in them or something. I don't know. You can't hear it at all.
Yeah,
I don't think necessarily coming out of a car speaker or whatever, unless maybe you have some really decent Bose like you do. Maybe it sounds a little better, but to really feel it, man, you got to have headphones like this on.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's again, like I said at the beginning of the show, the remastered version of the record definitely adds something to it. They cleared things up. Like it wasn't a remix, which I think it definitely sorely needs. But it was, it boosted things and cleaned certain things up, which sounds great. So you do hear the bass a little bit more. But yeah, to really get it, is listening to it in the headphones, And I mean, yeah. Again, I'm gonna go back to my original point before I get to my number one. But yeah, I just think this song is so underrated, and I get it. Like they'll never play it live, we'll never hear it. but it's, man, oh man, it's just so catchy all the way around. It's, and I always thought this would be like a great song, like, in the middle of a Dream Theater show, like when, especially for newer fans that are just getting blasted in the face with all the prog, like this would be such a great way to throw something in there to like lets them catch their breath a little bit, put in some Status Seeker. It's like almost like, it's not like this, so you guys know exactly where I'm coming. I'm not this guy, but it's almost like a pop song for Dream Theater, and it's it gives people a chance to like calm down, get a little 4/4 in their blood, and freshen them up, and then boom, let's go back to some more prog. So I really wish that they would have thrown this in, and they never did. So is what it is. But all right, so we are left with my number one, and if you've been keeping track, you know what my number one is, and it is the number one song on the record in terms of track listing. I Have a Fortune in Lies. It's one of my all-time favorite Dream Theater songs. I just love this tune. All the live versions are fantastic. This is, if I'd have heard this record in 1989, if I'd have gotten a hold of this, I'd have been like, what the fuck is this? Oh my God. And, this song pretty much like has it all. It's, the anti-chorus, I think, is what grabs me the most. Like, and I know that's probably not the right musical term, Brian, you would know better than me, but instead of like this big, rich, huge thing, like, right off the bat, the first song anyone's ever going to hear from them, they break it down into this like, the drums like, it's like stuttered thing and clean, broken guitar, like with just a soaring vocal. Like, what the hell is that? Like, if I'd have heard this in 89, I'd be like, what the shit is going on? And just that alone would have gotten me to continue listening. Although in 1989, I was the most close-minded motherfucker on the planet, so I probably would not have. I was in such a metal, I was like Metallica, Van Halen, and any of that otherwise piss off.
And now you have 3 bands instead of 2. You've really
exactly
grown.
I've grown so much since 89. Oh my God. But yeah, so like if I'd have heard this in 89 and I was a fan of this type of stuff, I'd have been like, what the hell was that? Like, so it's an interesting song all the way around. Like, I can sing it and sing it and sing it. Like, I always hope it's in the set list and whatnot. It's just, Jade nails it. He says the Luna Park version of A Fortune in Lies is awesome. James is great, and Mangini does a great job with the middle drum parts. Aiken, why does he have to tune in? Why don't you go away, Chris? Aiken says, John Drake, open musical mind, said no one ever. By the way to shill your own business with your with your cover photo there. Way to go. Yeah, okay. Sell out. But yeah, Jay, you totally nailed it. Like when Mangini's doing the with one hand and he's pointing around the crowd with the other hand. Like, that is just so cool. Brian, you and I saw that in the theater, and didn't we both go, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, that was just cool as hell.
I like in opening this album with the song to like the first Rob Zombie movie or House of a Thousand Corpses, where I feel like they threw everything possibly into because they didn't know if there was going to be another one. Like, we're going to get
right.
all out on this song just in case they don't let us do any more songs. Like,
right.
Because basically everything is in this. And, I don't know. Just the first time I ever heard this, it did not, I heard the high vocals and I think I liked those, but the rest of it, I really wasn't buying it. I guess I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for it at that time either. Or,
okay.
I've been on record many a time. I, had this album, listened to it a few times, and then I heard Images and Words, and it's like, this is not the same band. There's no way.
Yeah. So that raises an interesting question. So, do you think that this album is appreciated more by fans like me who didn't discover Dream Theater with this album? Or are there Dream Theater fans that were there from day one and were like, yeah, this is still as great as everybody else thinks it is? Because I wonder, because I think if I had heard this first, I'd be like, yeah, this is good, but yeah. And then Images and Words comes and you're like, okay, that first record's shit and everything else is great. Like, so I wonder if like I already was familiar with Dream Theater and the sound and stuff, so I could appreciate where they were coming from with the first record. Like, I really wonder about that. Like, because you heard it, in '89, and you were like, whatever. So, I mean, where do you stand on that?
Well, it seemed like a mix of trying to, especially with things kind of like after like when the song we were just talking about, Status Seeker. It seemed like a band that was, kind of caught at the end of the '80s thing, trying to still, that's what bands are. I mean, weren't they on MCA originally? Isn't that like the home of Trickster and whatnot? Or was it Atco?
Mechanic, yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, yeah, they were Mechanic for this one, and then it was Atco for the next few.
But yeah, I mean, that stuff was still, I mean, look at what they're wearing, look at their hair, you know what I mean? And those guys will tell you now, we don't give a crap what the hell it's all about the music. And they said that that's even what it was about at the time, but they're still super focused on their image and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an interesting thing. I really don't know. I bet there's a lot of people kind of more in the camp I was where I first heard it and was like, and then I heard the second one and like, wow, And then I guess if you're a true fan of a band, you go back and you can listen to old stuff and get into it. But I've kind of never really been one of those guys, like whatever album I join a band on, it's kind of from then on out. And sometimes I'll find some stuff like before, be like, oh, but I'm not one of these guys that just immediately goes, everything they did before that's amazing, because to me it's just it just isn't, like, because I can usually see the growth, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I always wonder, like, if you discover them here, is this album shit because you started from the beginning and you know everything that comes after? I've always wondered that. It's because again, for me, I was, let's say 95, like I said earlier, like I was familiar with a few different records first. Then I heard this one. I was like, oh yeah, like this is cool. I can hear why it's different. There wasn't a progression for me. It was like I knew where it would go. So I think it was like kind of more like God, I don't even know how to phrase it.
Well, it's after the fact, so yeah, you know where it ends up. I mean, that's the thing.
I just don't know how to I don't know how to phrase what I'm trying to say, because like it's a different experience hearing it, knowing what the band turned into, as opposed to hoping that the band was good, or let's say like you listened to the first record and you weren't really into it, but then all of a sudden loved the second record. It's I don't know, it's just an interesting thing to me.
Well, this is kind of how I wanted to, maybe, I don't want to say we wrap it up right this second, but my thoughts is this is wrapping up perfectly, because if you look at my list, okay, number 8, Light Fuse, number 1, Status Seeker. We don't have anything in the catalog, right, like that. And it goes back to my thing where I'm not saying I'm hung up on labels, but I am kind of firm on music and stuff where I'll just be like, I stick to, like, this to me, it's a collection of songs. It's not a cohesive album, but they're all. It's just my interpretation of what I hear, like, it's a collection of just stuff I think they all tried. It was all kind of different, and most of it's pretty cool, but it just doesn't feel like an album. It feels like a collection of songs. So,
yeah, I get that. I guess if I could phrase it like to kind of like piggyback on what you're saying, it almost sounds like a local band, whereas the rest of, and not just production wise, but how like it's like you said, it's a collection of songs. It's not really, there's nothing cohesive about it. There's weird parts here, like what the hell is going on? Like, they sound like a professional band on Images and Words, and this one is a little bit like, okay, that's like what a local band would do, like, and to me, not in a bad way. It does sound like that. Chris Aiken finally with something legitimate to contribute to the show. He says, fandom generally starts where people come in. My son's favorite band is Winger, but his favorite album is 4 or IV. I don't know if it's 4 IV, but it's weird how it works like that. Yeah, honestly, that Chris, to your point, that is an excellent way to phrase it, because I've been very vocal on the show that my favorite band is Van Halen. Dream Theater is a close second. And I discovered Van Halen in 1984. So the next record was 5150. So I was right on that, exactly on that fault line of Dave and Sammy. And so to me, I love them both. My preference, as I've said many times, is a little bit more for the Sammy era. But yeah, I didn't have like a few albums of Dave under my belt, or I didn't have like a few albums of Sammy under my belt and then went back to find Dave. So yeah, it's from where you start. So, Van Halen with me, maybe it's because I was right there when the whole split happened, and I had two Van Halen records. I had 1984 and 5150. I was like, well, this just kicks ass. So Kale also brings up a great point. He says it's a lot like Rush in the aspect of this is their first album, but it's almost a prologue instead, like how Rush starts when Peart starts on Fly By Night, despite Working Man, Dream Theater starts at Images. Yeah, that's a good point. I'll go along with that. And you're a Rush guy. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's definitely similar. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Rush had so many different periods. I mean, I guess DT kind of has too. Maybe I don't think maybe quite as many as Rush has, but yeah, I mean, no one's like going back to I mean, they want the Neil Peart stuff.
All right, well, there's our rankings, and we need to figure out our next album. So let's do this. I'm not very good at this crap, so let's do our random number generator, Brian. Here we go. I did it 1 through 15. Let's hit the roll button and let's see what record we are doing next. Record number 5. All righty. Dream and Day Unite. Images and Words. Awake. Falling into Infinity. Our next album ranking is going to be Scenes from a Memory.
Oh, man,
God damn it.
Tough. That's going to be hard.
God damn it.
These are going to get really hard because
this is can we just say right now we're going to completely not do the Astonishing? There's no way we can do that.
Well, we've avoided deep diving at this long, so there's no point.
Yeah.
There's no point in ranking it. We've gone to almost 3 years now without a deep dive, so we could go another 3 before we do that.
Yeah. All right. So the next song ranking episode is going to be Metropolis 2000 Scenes from a Memory. That's going to be a bitch. That is going to be a real bitch.
I don't know how we're going to. Good Lord.
Hey, we signed ourselves up for this, man. I don't know how either, but we got to do it. All right, real quick. Chris Aiken says, will you guys ever deep dive the Dominici solo records? I would do that. I think that, Aiken, you've showed me 2 of them, I think. And I think doesn't he have a trilogy? I think he's got a trilogy or something, I want to say. The Dominici solo records actually are pretty damn good. They're actually heavy. I know that, Chris, you interviewed him and stuff like that. I would do that. If for no other reason than to turn people on to, Charlie's stuff. Because, it really is good. It's heavier than Dream Theater. It's a little proggy, but it's good stuff. I would do it. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I think I heard of 1 or 2, and I thought it was pretty solid. So, yeah, I don't have a problem doing that. I'd love to get Charlie on here, man. I think that would be awesome.
Look at you. We go from, we'll deep dive his records to you going, get him on the show.
Hey, why not, man? Aiken can do it.
Well, he's Aiken. He's not us.
Hey, he can come on here with us.
That might be what it takes to get Charlie on the show. All right, so Aiken says 2 plugged and 1 acoustic. All right, so he's got 2 full electric records and 1 acoustic. So, JG3 says, do you guys not like The Astonishing? Just curious. And Robert Husted nails it. John definitely loves The Astonishing. Yes, I love The Astonishing. That's why we've waited, because I really want to take some time to really go into both discs and just absolutely. I really want to dig into that, man. I think it's not going to be one episode. I just, I love just driving around. That record is a holistic experience for me. So,
Yeah,
You know what? Solo, because I do have to take a piss now, so you're in solo.
Oh, great. Chastity Crowley. I'll just get some of these comments here real quick. Okay, John, I want to defend my Afterlife choice for a concert opener. I may not do set lists for rock bands, but I have made them for my family group for years. I liked my choice. Yeah, no, it's okay. It's all subjective here, Chastity. I'll stick with my choice of I think it would be a cool encore, but you want to open up a show for that. I think especially, too, if they did one of the where they do an entire album, like, so it's an evening with, and they're going to play, whatever album. Just take, for an example, if they played the newest View from Top of the World, let's say they played that front to back, and they did a set beforehand. They want to start with Afterlife. I'm totally fine with that. JG3, do a deep dive, Liquid Tension, or James LaBrie solo stuff first. I do think a deep dive on the other James solo album. So obviously we did the most recent one. That was great. We literally had James on here, and we had Chance on as well, and we had Paul Logue, the producer, was on as well, who did a bunch of the writing for the album. So, spoiler alert: Paul, as far as we know, is working on the next LaBrie album. So whenever that gets probably closer to being done, or when it's done, I think our intention is to have Paul back on, and maybe we could get James and Chase again. That would be absolutely amazing. Sorry, Chance. I'm saying the wrong name here. Afterlife as a concert opener would be awesome. Robert Husted agrees. See, Chastity, you do have people on your side. So.
All right, I apologize.
I'm going to apologize, too. I kept saying Chase LaBrie. It's Chance. So.
Chase, we've only had him on the show twice.
I know, man. I'm old. I'm like 50. I'm like 90 years older than Chance LaBrie, so he'll understand.
Or Chase LaBrie.
All right, Chris Aiken wins the internet. I love the astonishing when insomnia kicks in.
Aiken doesn't know anything about this crap. He's a Kid Rock fan. Okay, so that's all. That's all you need to know.
Wait, Chris Aiken doesn't like the astonishing? Get out of here! I would have never known that based on his personality.
Look at JG3. Is there any chance we can have Chase LaBrie on the show?
Okay, can we chase down Chance LaBrie?
Can we chance down Chase LaBrie? Is a better question.
I will apologize profusely to him when he comes on here. No, Chance is a great guy, man. I want to get Chance on. I want to talk about Falset, man. I've really been digging. I went back and listened, actually, to when we first had him on, and we were talking a little bit about Falset. I haven't listened so much to the newest one, but I still love that first album, man. I turned it on to a buddy of mine who actually was at the WVH show with us, I told you. I met a new friend who's into like same music, and I sent it to him. He was like, wow, this is really good. He really enjoyed it. So,
well, I think that's one of those records too. Like we were talking about, Dream Theater at age like 20, 21, writing, when Dream and Day Unite. I mean, the stuff that Chance LaBrie's doing at like 23 or whatever. I mean, it's pretty much right up there.
Yep.
I mean, it's proggy, and it's that singer is like his voice is in the stratosphere and stuff, and I mean it's awesome.
Yep.
Chris Aiken will catch LaBrie be on at some point. You had to open that can of worms, didn't you?
I did.
Oh. All right, so before we get out of here, I have an email out, and I don't know if this is like an interview you'll have much to contribute to, but I'll find a way to make it happen if it gets approved. So our buddy Aiken, who's been joking around in the chat, he of the CMS network, he runs the network, so thanks again, Aiken, for having us on the network. He just did an awesome interview this past, I believe, Monday or Tuesday, with an author, Steve Rosen. He's done a ton of books. He's been around since, I believe, the late 60s, maybe early 70s, but he's done books on Prince, any huge artists. And his latest, he's got a second edition out of a book right now called Tone Chaser. The first edition came out, I believe, in January, and the second edition was just released, and I bought a copy and got it in the mail today. It's a book about Eddie Van Halen, and obviously Van Halen's my favorite, my favorite musician. Van Halen's my favorite band. Eddie Van Halen's my favorite musician. The book is excellent, Brian. Like it is so different from all the other Van Halen books that I've read. Like, and I read everything. It's All right, Robert Hughes said. Brian drinking a good beer, Yingling all the way. Okay, Robert Hughes said, first of all, Brian may be drinking a good beer, but Yingling is not a good beer, so just stop that.
I also, real quick before you go back to that, I want to address Kale's question. And John, do my idea and do the recasting of The Astonishing as a rock opera with multiple singers. I have one word to that. No. Okay, go back to what you were doing.
Nice. But yeah, so I've basically read like every Van Halen book there is to read, and when I say that, I'm not exaggerating because I search for Van Halen stuff. And the books are good, but especially since Eddie passed, it's all the same stuff. It's, it's just, and they're all advertised as, oh, new information. You've never seen this before. And I don't know if I mentioned it on this show before, but like there's literally a book that was like, yeah, this is all new shit. Like you're never going to believe all this kind of explosive stuff. And I listened to it on audiobook, and it was about 10 and a half hours. And I'm not joking when I say there were 15 minutes of things I didn't know. And I'm like, any Van Halen nerd who considers himself a super nerd would know all of this. Well, this Steven Rosen book, Tone Chaser, I'm not just shilling because I'm trying to get him on the show. Like, it really is very different. It's basically he had developed a friendship with Eddie, and it's a bunch of interviews that he did with Eddie that were just like him just bullshitting. He recorded them on cassette, and so he transcribed them in full. But it's a bunch of stuff that he did for like Guitar Player Magazine, Guitar World, all these different international guitar magazines. And it's like Eddie Van Halen, but from a very personal perspective. And it is absolutely fascinating. And like I said, Chris Aiken did a great interview with him. It's on his show, Chris Aiken Presents. You can check that out on the CMS network with Steve Rosen, the author. He did that just earlier this week, and it is a fascinating book. And I've got an email out to Steve and hoping to get him on the show and talk about the book, because it's just so different. It's not just a collection of facts. It's not just, well, here's these things that happened with, Van Halen. It's, his actual personal experiences. And holy shit. I have my email open, and I have a response from Steve Rosen. Hi, John. How are you? I'd love to do your show. Thank you for your kind comments. Give me a shout anytime you'd like to talk. I love doing Chris's show. Keep me posted as you get through the book. I'd love to hear your comments as you go along, or whatever you feel comfortable with. Look forward to your podcast down the road. All the best, Steve. All right, pardon me I'm in a fanboy a little bit.
Well, can you get me a copy so I can
get you a copy.
Know what the hell we're talking about if I join the show?
Yes, I can definitely get you a copy.
Okay. I mean, I'll even pay for it. I don't care.
That's fine. I spent $47 on mine, but I can get you a copy.
Okay, never mind the part about paying for it. But if you can get me a copy, that would be great.
You act like you're unemployed.
Yeah, that's another episode.
Oh, jeez. All right. So, anyways, guys, apparently we're gonna get Steve Rosen on. So if you're a Van Halen fan, if you want to hear about writing a book, if you want to hear about like real legitimate, like a very different perspective on Eddie Van Halen, a personal perspective, we're going to do that episode. So,
dude, this is taking off in the comments.
I was going to say, like, before we get out of here, we got
David Lee Roth. It's now going to be in The Astonishing along with Rob Halford and Vince Neil. That would be awesome too.
Okay, so here we go. So when Kale asked, recast all the characters for this. All right. So the chat, man, you guys are the best, man. Seriously, man. If you are just tuning in for the first time, jump in the chat because we absolutely love this interaction, man. This is exactly why I do the show. So Kale said, cast favorite singers as characters for The Astonishing. JG3, Vince Neil as Faith.
Who's Vince McNeil?
I don't know. I think he works at McDonald's.
Okay.
Cam McLeish says, ugh, Vince Neil will be lucky to end up as X. Robert Husted, gorilla farts have corrupted your taste buzz, John. Oh my God.
Well, I don't mind Yingling, but I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend it's an amazing beer. So
no, dude, Robert Husted, all you got to do is line up a couple other beers next to Yingling, and then understand that when you drink the Yingling, it's got this horrible, horrible aftertaste. So also it's from Pittsburgh, so fuck those guys. Go Browns. Robert Husted, David Lee Roth as Gabriel. Cale McLeish, Rob Halford as Nefarious. JG3 wants. This is so good.
McNeil, there we go.
McNeil, JG3, Vince McNeil.
I think they were calling him like McMeal too, like MEAL at one point.
Vince Meal, yeah. JG3 says it's Vince Neil in his earlier form. Vince McNeil is where he is today, like McDonald's. Aiken, John's a drunk. He knows. Yeah, well,
it's gonna be too hard.
I chugged all that iced tea tonight. Yeah, a little bit hammered on the iced tea tonight. God damn, you guys are awesome. Holy shit! All right, man. Well, I believe that'll put a nice little capper on tonight's show. That was fun. We now have a God, we Johan Alexanderson. I thought that was a bottle of Jack. I wish I could make a joke, but I already showed it on screen. It's a no sugar, unsweetened pure leaf iced tea. So can't even make a joke about that. The bottle of Jack will be at the fan hangout later this year. So all right. Chastity, is the mod going to be drunk for the Octagon? No.
That's the only way I'm joining in if I'm drunk.
Chastity, the only shows I've been legitimately drunk for on the show, not even joking, are the fan hangouts. I've been legitimately drunk on the show twice.
Yeah, you were illegitimately drunk plenty of times there.
Well played. Well played.
Or illegitimately sober, let's put it that
way. Oh, my God. All right, so we have the Octavarium in the Octagon coming up on October 19th. Steve Rosen's going to come on when I finish the book. I will get you a copy. Man.
I think we're going to have to, our next one will probably time for one of those, what's the next on our albums for?
1999.
Okay. I think that's what we're going to be doing then, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. Aiken. Send them CMS clips for Drunk John. Nice. Chastity, we need you impartial. Chastity, I am impartial. If I'm going to moderate, I will be impartial. I just can't. I can't believe you can't find a tag team partner. You can't find someone to. I mean, Chastity, I'll be honest. I don't understand how you don't like the song Octavarium. I'm going to be impartial, but I still don't understand how you don't like that song. So, but I will be impartial. I will remove my, personal feelings about the song, everything about score and everything. I'll just, it'll be like a presidential debate. So, back in the 60s when presidential debates actually made sense. So, all right, man. Well, we got to get our notes going. We have our 1999 albums. We're going to do that one. And we also have to rank the songs on Scenes from a Memory. That is.
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to.
Well, we set ourselves up for this, so we'll figure it out somehow. Thankfully, there's a few that are easy because they're like little interludes, so that's,
Are we counting those? I guess we have to.
We have to. Okay. If it's a track on the album, we have to count it.
Because sometimes you don't know what are separate songs and separate tracks based on In the Presence of Enemies, your nonsense with that. Just so I want to clarify.
Right? I feel like we might break show rules by accident on this one, so who knows. All right, man, well, let's get out of here. Guys, we cannot thank you guys enough for jumping in the chat. Chris Aiken, JG3, man, Cale McLeish, Chastity Crawley, Sean Faust, Robert Husted, all you guys, man. Mike Lamagna, Johan, you guys are fantastic. Thank you so much for checking the show out. We love interacting with you guys. We love your opinions, and you guys are the third host on the show, so thank you very much for checking it out. Again, if you are tuned in on YouTube, Jesus Christ, it does sound like I've been drinking. If you are tuned in on YouTube, don't forget to click that like button, click that subscribe button, and cling that notification bell so that you're notified every time we go live or new content comes up. We are live every other Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here at all these locations: Facebook, YouTube, CMSnetwork.com, TalkingIntoInfinity.com, and the CMS Rumble page. Guys, we are going to see you again in 2 weeks. The date will be, what'll it be, Brian? September. I didn't look at my calendar, so now I'm screwed.
Well, the last day of August is Thursday. That's the 31st. That's when I get confused trying to do that kind of math.
All right, well, the first Browns game is the 10th, so 9th, 8th, 7th. September September 7th. There we go. I need to look this shit up before we get on live. Anyway. But yeah, so we're going to be back here live on Thursday, September 7th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And guys, seriously, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, we will see you guys. I'm totally lost now. I flubbed everything. So the Yingling and the comments and everything. Fuck this. Guys, we love you. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Talking Into Infinity. You guys are amazing. And as always, guys, thank you. And Carpe Diem.
Say goodnight, John. Good night, John.